And tonight on the Daily Wrap, as we look back and honor those lost on 9/11 14 years ago, we have disturbing news now that the Obama administration might have altered intelligence data on ISIS. The Obama administration won the first round over the Iran deal, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says the battle is far from over. And Governor Bobby Jindal wages war on Donald Trump as Hillary Clinton's once colossal lead is all but gone. This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my like-to-tie co-host, Rick Unger.
Oh, yeah, we are. It looks like our moms dressed us together today.
We've done about 100 shows, and this has never happened.
I know. Well, let's end it right here. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, I agree completely. Big report out today. Your
thoughts?
Yeah,
disturbing. Quickly. Very disturbed by it. And from credible sources that the intelligence community has been, or the top guys in the intelligence community, have been setting up a situation where we may not be getting honest reporting and or honest intelligence on ISIS's, let's say, strength. Mm-hmm. This troubles me deeply. This brings me back to the Vietnam War, when we were being lied to about what was happening over there. This is not something that I take lightly.
Trust in government already poor, about to get worse if this report is accurate. Too, Mr. Unger's right. She's an anchor for the Blaze TV. Amy Holmes is back. Glasses, love him. And finally, he's a former FBI special agent, a former Navy SEAL, and currently the president of Continued Services, and has tremendous handwriting, by the way. Yes, and he has the Clinton emails.
With you? You brought them all? Yeah.
Interesting. Serving it up tonight is Jonathan Gilliam. Okay, let's get right to the Daily Download. And that was the President and First Lady today at the White House observing a moment of silence for the victims of the terror attack of 9/11/2001. 14 years ago today, the world was shocked as Al-Qaeda staged the biggest terror attack in history on American soil, killing 2,977 people. On that day, the official war on terror began.
I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Arguably the best moment of the Bush presidency. 14 years later, the war in Iraq is over and Osama bin Laden has been killed by Navy SEALs. But the war rages on. Jonathan Gilliam, Al-Qaeda, marginalized, but filling the vacuum, particularly obviously with the caliphate in Syria and Iraq, is ISIS. Are we winning the war on terror? Are we safer than we were 14 years ago?
Let's just stop using the word war on terror, or the phrase, and start using the phrase war on fundamental Islam, because that's what it is, and no, we're not winning it. I mean, we should have been prepared for this. That is perhaps, I think, next to when Ronald Reagan told Gorbachev to tear down that wall, I think that's one of the greatest moments in presidential history right there that you just showed. But we should have been prepared before this happened. It was no secret that fundamental Islam was moving, that they hate us, and I don't think that we've come far at all since then. In fact, we may have gone back a few steps because now they know how to use technology. They've had 14 years to raise an entire generation to fight us. Now they're going global to the point where Germany and all these other European countries are giving them free tickets to spread all over the world.
Would you say, though, that you're surprised that for 14 years there hasn't been a major terror attack. I know what happened in Boston. I know what happened in Fort Hood. I can't classify them in the same level as 9/11 as a major attack. Are you surprised we haven't been hit harder?
Let's look at what happened in Tennessee, right? Our own Defense Department that was struck. That was a terrorist attack inside our borders on our own military, and they killed, was it four people? Three Marines and one sailor. I think that was almost as significant as killing over 2,000 Americans, because what happened? Because they went in and they killed and they hit our military here during wartime, and we were clueless.
You see, it was a lone wolf.
He subscribes to fundamental Islam. You cannot differentiate. In the word lone wolf, the reality is he's a lone operative. He is an operative. You don't have to go to boot camp to become a fundamental Muslim.
No, you just have to get a Twitter account.
You have to subscribe to their ideology.
I'm gonna disagree a bit with that. What happened in Tennessee was terrible, to be sure, but answering your question, Joe, I'm actually amazed that both the Bush administration and then the Obama administration have been successful at keeping something as horrible as 9/11 from happening again. You know, we tend to, if you're a Democrat, you beat up on Bush. You know what? I'm not beating up on George Bush over this. No matter what you may think about what led to this, and however you may want to blame him, which I don't, he did a heck of a job in keeping it from happening again. And the same in this administration. Americans should appreciate that. There's nothing wrong with appreciating. I agree with Jonathan, by the way. We have not made the advances against Muslim fundamentalism or terrorism, whatever you want to call it. I agree with you.
And in point of fact, ISIS is gaining ground, territory, resources, arms. They are abducting, raping, killing girls, children, boys, dumping live boys into ditches. And I think, to your point, that we have to look at this as a paradigm shift in terms of their strategy for inflicting and instilling terror. So now we have videos of beheadings that are being broadcast all around the world, and I think it does frighten Americans. But Rick, when it comes to terrorist attacks on American soil, yes, of course, we credit our intelligence services for foiling many, many plots, but some, it's been just dumb luck. The underwear bomber, for example.
It could be. You never know how.
It didn't work, and he singed himself, and he was tackled.
Better to be lucky than good.
But he landed on American soil, and had his terror plot succeeded, all those people would have been killed.
The bottom line is, to both of those presidents, I say we don't give them enough credit.
Rick, remember that the underwear bomber's own father turned him into the embassy and said, "My kid's going off the rails. He is a danger to himself and everyone around him," and he still was able to get on a flight and land in the United States.
And I suspect that's not the only time something has gone wrong. But look about how well they've done.
And we were also warned about the Boston bombers. Russian intelligence services informed the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, and they were still able to make it here and set off bombs and kill people.
But Jonathan, how hard is it to be perfect? Because I think that's what Amy's alluding to, that we could have stopped this and we could have stopped that. But all these perfection is just so difficult, particularly when you're dealing with lone wolves.
All these attacks, what we're talking about are symptoms of two huge cancers in this world. One is fundamental Islam that's spreading all over the place, and inside our own country, the greatest cancer we have are incompetent and ineffective leaders. And these people that you were speaking about at the beginning of this show that have changed these data reports about ISIS, we're talking about executives that are at the top of all these federal agencies, that are advisors for the president, that sit in cabinets, in Congress, in the Senate. These people are incompetent. They do not realize what they're doing. They compromise the safety of the United States in order.
It's easy to say when you're not one of the people with the responsibility.
I've worked for them.
I don't care.
I've worked for them.
You're not one of the people with the you're not one of the people with the responsibility, and I'm telling you,
responsibility for informing. I did.
Things will go wrong, but we overdo it for political reasons. President Bush kept this from happening after 9/11. President Obama.
I worked for these people.
Can I interject for a moment?
So?
The Boston bombers, named, identified, and our government was told.
We missed them.
The underwear bomber, identified, we were told. And when it comes to the incompetence, do you remember James Clapper sitting in the interview with Diane Sawyer? And there had been a roundup of 12 terrorists who were planning a holiday terrorist attack. And Diane Sawyer asked James Clapper, "So is London safe?" And he looked at her baffled and he said, "London?" He didn't even know that these terrorists had been apprehended, while all of the rest of the world did because they watched the news.
Incompetent.
Well, President Obama called them, has picked up the slack. Look, here's the bottom line. More Daily Wrap coming in just a moment.